There's a beautiful verdant mountain right outside my window on most days. Except this morning I can barely make out its silhouette because of smoke from fires 1,000 miles away. During the hot summer days, where now fire has become a significant presence on the landscape, its smoke can travel for thousands and thousands of miles, impacting communities all over the continent. This morning, I'm choosing to stay inside because the smoke is just so dense. But this gets me wondering, what is it like for the wild world outside? Some forms of life benefit greatly from the smoke, while others not so much. And what does this have to do with birds, you might be wondering? Well, stick around for the Mindful Bird Sit and you'll find out. Hey there, thanks for joining the Mindful Bird Sit. If you're new here, my name is Christy, and I help people connect deeply with birds and nature while boosting their skills, elevating their confidence, and helping them to fall more in love with life. If that's something you'd like to do, please consider subscribing and sticking around. You can also join any number of my online courses, like Identify Any Bird Anywhere. All right, let's get started. Yeah, so that inspired me this morning to think about breath and the importance of breath and breathing and what it's like for us and for others. So today we're going to be doing that. Will be a lot of it won't necessarily be ears and eyes today. It's more going to be a felt sense and kind of our imagination, but we're going to be in the present. So really getting present to the different elements that I'm going to introduce and putting yourself in their shoes, in their feet, in their talons, whatever it might be, in their roots, um, to get a sense. And so for some of you, I know that might be an easy thing to do, to play with your imagination. Others, it might be a little bit of a stretch. And so just kind of remember what it was like to be, I don't know, a 7-year old who was just happy to play and pretend. So if you're someone that you find it's hard to kind of imagine what it might be like in as a bird or as an insect, then just put on your best 7-year old hat or your 7-year old dress or whatever you used to wear and yeah, and just play with it because that's what today is about playing. But really, it's also like what this has to do with birds is that it's an opportunity for us to like slow ourselves down to connect really deeply with our place, right? Because when we are more quiet, more deeply connected, then the birds are less um, concerned about our presence when we can be present. So that's what we're going to practice today. All right, looks like you guys are all set up in a good position. So wherever you want to be, and today it can be done probably with eyes open is going to be best unless you do want to just truly imagine, because sometimes it might be good to actually like find a particular whatever I ask for, like a bird, a tree, or whatever. You might actually want to just focus on that one individual. That's another approach to this, is giving our full attention to one individual. So that's an option for you, is have eyes open. You can also have your eyes closed and just imagine everything that I'm speaking of. So whatever works for you this morning. All right, let's begin with our breath. Oh, and just a reminder that for anyone who might be new, that we always do a chat afterwards. You're welcome to stay. You don't have to say anything. You can just listen and observe. And oftentimes, some really rich content, rich, I don't know, stories are shared during that time. So it's an invitation to everyone to stick around after the sit is over. So take a nice deep breath in and hold it for just a second at the top and then let it go. And squeeze it out, feeling your belly suck all the way into your spine as you squeeze it out. And then another nice deep breath in, feeling your lungs, feeling your chest, every bit of you just expanding and then letting it go. Slowly squeezing out from your rib cage down to your belly. And then inhaling again. This time, as you inhale, do so with the intention to smell the air around you. Noticing what the scent is in the air this morning, or prominent scents. How is it unique or different from the last time you might have smelled the air? And now just allow your breath to fall into a natural rhythm. You can choose to close your eyes right now if you want to, or keep them open. We're going to just sink a little bit more deeply into our own bodies for a moment. So let's begin first with our posture. So don't change it just yet because I said the word, but just notice it. Notice, how are you sitting or standing? Notice if your body is leaning forward a little bit. Are you sitting backwards, relaxed? Are you sitting nice and upright? Are you feeling relaxed in your bottom and your feet on the ground, on the earth, however it may be? Noticing what parts of you might have tension and what parts of you feel relaxed and open. And now, if you'd like, you can go ahead and shift your posture to one that you might prefer to be in. I know for myself, I was leaning forward to talk to you guys, so I prefer to be sitting upright as much as I can. And you can now imagine a beautiful light, as if there's light that's shining down upon you, right into your skull, as if there's a beautiful flower, like a lotus flower on top of your head, and it's opening to receive that light. And it just enters your body, bathing you in this beautiful, beautiful light. At each breath, you receive it deeper and deeper into your body, allowing yourself just to travel through your body, connecting with all the parts of you, the parts that you might not normally connect with, maybe like your elbows or your knuckles, maybe your toenails even, or your belly button. Allow yourself to feel and explore your body, allowing this beautiful light just to enter and bathe you right now. Feeling the radiance that's emitted from you as you are being bathed in this beautiful light. And you're sinking more and more deeply into your own personal experience of your own beautiful body right now. This beautiful gift of a body, this beautiful gift of your life that you are to all of us and you are to yourself in the world. And go ahead and find a place in your body that is needing a little extra love and attention, maybe some extra care right now. And imagine that that light is being breathed into that place. You can even imagine the lotus flower opening and closing in that location. Breathing in, it opens, and then breathing out, it closes. And you can take a couple of breaths doing this. Feeling the air, which is the gift from the plant world around us, enter our body. A beautiful blessing from them. And on your exhale, you can gift a blessing of your breath to the world around you. And now you can begin to notice that connection with your breath and the breath of the world around you. And that reciprocity, that reciprocal sharing between you and the others around you. And how we're linked and connected simply by our breath. Beautiful. So now go ahead and you can continue to stay in this beautiful space, imagining that light entering your body if you'd like. And now we're going to expand our awareness to our ears, listening first for the quietest sound that you can hear in your environment right now. Notice the quality of that sound, the uniqueness, the specialness of whatever it is. And now searching the landscape for a sound that's a little bit louder than that one. Noticing how far away that may be, even though it's It doesn't matter how far away it is. We're not focused on distance as much today. It's just the quality and the volume of the sound. And now looking for a sound that's a little bit louder than that one. Just slowly becoming familiar and connected to all those that are around us. Listening for a sound that's even louder, maybe about equal to my voice. Getting to know that one. And then now expanding even further out into the landscape, listening for a sound that's probably the loudest sound you can hear around you right now. Just allowing it to be. For many people, this might be a human-made sound. For others, it could be an animal or the natural world. And just allow yourself to listen without judgment, making it right or wrong, good or bad. It just is in this moment. Beautiful. Take a nice deep breath in. Just letting yourself listen to all the sounds that are in your environment now, both near and far. On your next exhale, go ahead and open your eyes just gently and softly. Go ahead and find something to focus your eyes on that's maybe anywhere from 20 to 50 feet away. Find one point and keep your eyes focused on that while allowing the rest of your vision to expand and to get really soft all around you. So see how far to your right and your left your eyes can expand. How far out in those directions can you actually see while you're still looking straight ahead? And then remembering to also expand above and below in the same way. And just start to notice what you pick up on, what you're noticing that maybe you didn't see before, because now the more subtle movements are being perceived by your eyes. Good work. All right, so now we're going to shift our attention back to our breath. So reconnect with your breath if you had forgotten about it for a moment. You can put your hand on your chest if you want to, just to feel the rise and the fall of your chest, feeling your breath come in as your chest rises and falling as you exhale. You can also put your hand on your belly if you want to, feeling that soften and expand as you inhale. Allowing your belly to stretch out. I know as women, we often want to suck our bellies in. So just right now, when no one is watching, just let your belly get nice and soft and expand with your breath. You're just a beautiful wild creature in this world. Nothing to prove, nothing to do in this moment anyway. Just like everything else out there. So we're going to begin first by imagining what it's like to be the earth or the soil beneath our feet and what its breath is like. You might be starting with the hardest reach for some of you in pretending, But just try it on. Imagine what is it like? And you can look at the earth beneath your feet right now or somewhere off in the distance where you can see the soil. And just imagine if you were breathing as the earth, what would that be like? In its own unique way, how is the earth? How does the soil breathe? And we'll stay with this one for a couple moments, and then I'll give you another one to focus on. Good work. So now we're going to imagine ourselves as an insect. You can look around and find a particular insect if you'd like. And just imagine what would it be like to breathe as this insect. If you don't have any around you in the moment, you can just imagine. You could close your eyes for that if you want to, and imagine an insect, maybe the last insect you remember seeing, and imagine what would it be like to breathe as that one. Imagining where and how the air enters its body and where it's expelled or given back. Good work. And so now we're going to shift over to the four-legged animals on the earth. So you may have one in front of you. Maybe some of you have a cat or a dog. You might even see a squirrel or some other four-legged creature. Maybe you have a deer walking by. If you don't, you can just imagine. So just choose a particular four-legged animal and imagine what it's like to be that animal breathing. And remember that the gift of this practice is that when our mind starts to wander, we allow ourselves to come back. So keep bringing yourself back to that animal, to its breath, and imagining the breath, the air traveling in and out of its lungs. Good work. All right, and so now we're going to shift over to a wild being that might be a little bit different to imagine. So we're going to think about any of the flowering plants. So you can look around you and find one particular flowering plant that you can see. It doesn't have to be anything spectacular. It could just be a regular, good old-fashioned weed if you like. And just imagine what it would be like to breathe as this plant. And remember, for those of you who might be wrestling to try to figure out, like, or just to imagine what is it like to breathe as a plant, you can ask the plant, what's it like to breathe like you? Good work. All right, now we're going to shift to our taller neighbors. So over to the trees. And doing the same thing, imagining what's it like to breathe as one of the trees in your yard. Lovely. Now let's shift our attention over to the winged ones, to the birds. If you have a bird that's maybe going to stick around for a minute, you can focus on that one, or just imagine the last bird that you saw. Right now, we're going to expand our possibilities. And I want you to think, some of you might be able to see one, others might have to imagine the nearest one. So think of the nearest mountain to you right now. And just imagine, what is it like to breathe as that mountain? Okay, and now one other along the same vein. Think about the nearest body of water to you. Where's the nearest body of water? And imagine, what is it like to breathe as that body of water? And finally, let's bring it back to ourselves. So, after all of this connection, after all of this imagining what it's like to be another, what is it like to be you in this moment, taking a breath? So, what's it like to be your breath in this moment? Good work, everybody. So, take the next moment or two to offer a blessing or gratitude to all those ones that you connected with and got to know a little bit more deeply today. Okay, so now is our time for chatting and sharing. And anyone who has to go, thank you for coming. You're always welcome to leave whenever you need to, and just grateful to see all of these beautiful faces. Look at everybody today. What a beautiful Monday. So, who would like to begin with a share? Just sharing what occurred for you during this sit. Yeah, Anne Marie and then Anne.
I found it very relaxing to think about all of the different parts of the earth that are breathing like me. It's a good practice to ground as you're settling into a sit spot, I think.
Mm,
Um, and to have the perspective of, okay, what's the ground thinking? If it's been too dry,
mm,
is it gasping? Are insects breathing heavy because they're busy, doing their
mm,
breathing thing? Some of the trees, because I'm up on a mountain, didn't get as much rain as part of Maryland did last week, so we're dry up here where other places got 4 or 5 inches in a half an hour. So just made me reflective of other things around me instead of being so more self centered, to have other perspectives. So thank you. This good gift.
yeah, you're welcome. That is a gift, isn't it? Yeah. Thanks, Anne Marie. Miss Anne.
I got it. I got it. Too many buttons. My thought was, it came to me when we were thinking about the four-footed animals. And I thought, I'm looking at the woods and I'm thinking about the possums, the raccoons, the squirrels, and how quick their breath is because they're sniffing. Their breath is working. It's not just keeping them alive. And I thought about, do they ever take a deep breath and relax? And I thought about, my dogs, my domesticated four-footeds. And I thought, the dog will sigh. Does a raccoon do that? Does a squirrel use its breath to relax? And I'm thinking it might when it's curled up next to its mother at night. It relaxes. But does mom relax, And then I thought about, we were putting human characteristics on the plant. How does the plant feel? And I had to make myself do that, because do plants feel? So I was, yeah. And I thought, the transpiration, does it feel good? It was very hot. And what the, I'm looking at corn. We had corn, they talked about corn sweat, which increases the humidity and stuff. Was that hard for the corn plant to do because the air's humid? So yeah, it was busy the other day.
Wow, wow, Anne. Yeah,
Yeah, it was.
it can be a trick for your mind to like, especially for the plants, to be like, whoa, like what does that like? I don't know. What would it be like to be a plant trying to breathe or a tree trying to, like, yeah, that was a wild one for me as well. Thank you for sharing your experience. Hmm. Who else would like to share? Yeah, Linda, is that a hand? Okay, go for it.
Well, it brought up a lot of curiosity and questions for me. Initially, I kind of went to the scientific part, and thinking about. Um, I know that the conifer trees have little white dots on the underside of their needles that they call stomata, and that's where they take in carbon dioxide and release oxygen. So I thought about that, the exchange that the trees do, and then I thought, well, what about the cottonwood trees and the fruit trees? They don't have those needles. Do they have stomata on their leaves? And I don't know that. I have to look that up. And I same for the flowers. I thought the flowers probably don't breathe. It's probably the leaves. Anyway, I got myself all into all these questions, but it was also very grounding and somehow very reassuring and comforting to think about everything else breathing. And like Anne Marie was saying, I think it would be a great way to start time at a sit spot to kind of ground yourself in the breathing that all the life around you is doing is with you. It was very uplifting to me in a lot of ways, although I'm sure that there's times when all of everything that we thought about today, they too have some struggles around breathing, like we do when the air gets real humid or smoky or pollution, because pollution really affects the plants. I know that. There's a I'm sorry, I'm taking a long time, but there was a, what they did up in Colorado when I used to live in Colorado in Aspen, they have a wonderful road that goes out to Maroon Bells area, which is incredibly beautiful. And there were so many cars that were going up and down that road. All of the vegetation and plant life, even the trees, were just really being affected and dying on both sides all the way up. This was back in the late 80s. They had the presence of mind to pass legislation that no cars would be allowed up there between 8 and I believe it was 5 o'clock at night. And the only way to get up and down there was by bus, unless you lived up there, and there were only about 3 houses up there. So, and within less than a year, the vegetation just completely turned around. I mean, it was just green, it was vibrant. It was some of the trees they were able to salvage. It was remarkable. So I never lived up there. I just worked up there for a while one summer, and we heard about it. What an indicator of pollution, even at high elevations, because Aspen is at 8,000 feet. That the plants are with their response to pollution. But anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in. It's important.
Yeah, what a beautiful and heartwarming story, and just encouraging that like people who are paying attention, this is
Yeah.
one of the reasons for paying attention is that we can make a difference in the world around us,
Hmm.
when we start to notice. Yeah, that's really beautiful, Linda. Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, sure. I know for me, this morning, one thing I realized is like I don't know that I'm as joyful as everything else is when it's breathing. Like I think I need to have more joy, not need to, but I want to have more joy in my breath because everything I tapped into when I was like asking it, because it was hard for me to like imagine. I'm like, how could I imagine like how a tree or a plant breathes and like what I don't even know how that would feel, because it's not there's no lungs. Like what is that? But when I asked it, it just felt like easy. There was just this ease that came to me and joy. Like when, especially with the mountain is like loving it right now with the smoke. It just had this like joy, and even the water, there was just like this peace. Um, and I just thought like, yeah, how easy the breath is for so many creatures, for like so many living beings. And well, I did think of the squirrel actually. I was like, I probably shouldn't be thinking of the squirrel right now because my lungs are a little bit affected by the smoke at the moment. And when I was thinking of the squirrel, I was like, wow, his breath is really fast. It's just like this, I was imagining it like climbing a tree and like, what would that be like? And then I was like, okay, I actually have, not to answer Anne, but just to share an experience. I did witness a squirrel. It was a female who had been basically like chased all morning long by three male pursuers who were interested in her, and she was running away from every single one of them, and for hours actually. And I finally saw her like on a branch with like her arms hanging over it and just her head like on the branch, and she was just like, and she was just like, whew, that kind of like. Yeah, I used to call it the deep dog sigh. Like I've seen my dog do that before, where it just like all of a sudden it's like, and I'm like, oh, what a nice feeling that is. Like if we all could have that. I think I did a video about it a couple years ago, just like finding the moment within us when we can have a deep dog sigh, is such a beautiful time when it, for me, I usually have to be a bit more conscious of it, or it does just sometimes happen spontaneously. If I'm doing something where I'm like in nature and I'm just like being very present, all of a sudden I'll notice my breath just goes, it's like, oh, wow, I'm truly relaxed right now, and yeah, they're good teachers for sure. Who else wants to share their story from the morning? Julia, yeah, please go for it.
Okay, well, I've been away for a bit, and when I was in Scotland, there were times, several times in particular that we noticed we were places where there was no human sound at all. It was just magical. We were just bathed in it, And this morning I was out earlier, and the cicadas are going full blast. This is summer in Oklahoma. It is so noisy. Okay. And I thought, okay, that summer, I get a little nostalgic in the summer for the farm and all. And I think part of it is brought by the sound of the cicadas that I remember. And I know this is not where you wanted us to go, but this is where my mind went when you were thinking of the lotus and then the light, you know. Okay, sun, light here, it's beaming down hot. It's not a beautiful image. But I thought, oh, but if it's a sunflower, it's going to be really enjoying the sun coming in. And it reminded me of a few decades ago now. In the fall, I was driving north toward Kansas. And you know, Kansas is a sunflower state. They raise a lot of commercial sunflowers up there. And it was at the time, it was early September, and the fields were just full of blooming sunflowers. And you may know that they turn and follow the sun during the day. And I was driving north, so they were all looking at me as I was driving north. And I thought, oh, great. They're saying, they're greeting me, you know. And I thought, because you had mentioned play just a little bit earlier, I thought, oh, that was a moment of play for me. And so I'm endeavoring to have more moments like that. And it was not totally without it in my past. So anyway, yeah, that's our environment right now. Noisy cicadas, now the trash truck, and you know.
Yep. Yeah. That's beautiful, Julia. Thank you for all that. And thank you for the memory too of the playful moment with you and the sunflower. It reminds me, I shared this with some of you who are in the roost, that I did this drawing as part of my project that I'm working on right now. And I went out on a walk the other day and heard this Acadian, I think it was Acadian flycatcher singing, or alder, one of those. Anyway, and it was singing, and I was like so excited to watch it. And they have the lightest little like blush of yellow on their belly. And I didn't think I was playing. I just like let myself think, and just let my mind wander. And I was like, I just had this like sweet image come to me of like that like where does that light blush come from? And I imagined like me as a kid holding a sunflower, or not a sunflower, a buttercup like up to my chin, and it would start to glow this like light little blush of yellow under my chin. And I was like, oh, so I just imagine this flycatcher like holding a buttercup like to its belly, like that's where it gets its yellow. It's not real yellow, it's just the reflection of the buttercup on its belly. Anyway, it's really fun to let ourselves play like that sometimes. Yeah, I think all sorts of interesting and just creativity can come from us when we do that. Thanks, Julia. Anyone else want to share? Yeah, Gabrielle, please.
Um, the first one we did was I focused in on this beautiful red, deep red, kind of like my robe actually, bougainvillea that's just peeking through my trees. Just wherever they land, they come peeking through. And it's a little bit windy. And yesterday I did a meditation that had to do with seeing beauty. And I just imagined that they were saying, yes, 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 yes to life. And that was so good for me to hear right now, as life is somewhat challenging. And then the other part that was really profound was I have a tree that hasn't been fruiting in the last year. It's oh my God, can't think of the name. But I thought about reciprocity. This is one tree in my area that I really feel how much we give to each other. even though it's not been fruiting, it's beauty and its life, and I keep rooting for it, to come back to life. So that was really, really quite profound. Um, anyway, there was a lot more, but those two were kind of the highlights of it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Gabrielle. I love just the idea of saying yes to life, in all the ways that I've heard people share, like, whether we're being playful, like allowing ourselves to be playful, and saying yes in that way, and allowing ourselves to experience another's experience or just trying it on, and just saying yes instead of the resistance I think that sometimes can come up. It's like, I don't like that thing, or what's happening over there, and it's like there's a lot of resistance in some of that. But just what would it be like to say yes, to life, and like the plants seem to be doing. We don't really know, but that's the way it seems. It seems like a big yes, a big welcoming and joy. Yeah.
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 It's interesting. I'm in the middle of writing a children's book
Yeah.
called The Power of Dream Animals.
Mm.
And it's taken me really a long time to get into the voice of it. And so a couple of weeks ago, I decided what I really wanted to do is write from the voice of the animal. And I've been only working at this point with animals that come into my real life. And I actually had a coyote come through my yard a couple of weeks ago. And I have a cat who was outside, of course, and, really freaked me out. But I was able to sit down and really get into the mind of the coyote
Mm.
and write. It's the very short pieces about what I want children to know about. I am the coyote. This is what I'm about.
Mm.
So this kind of exercise we did today is so perfect for me to
Yeah.
really put myself into the voice of the plants or the animals.
Right on.
So thank you for that.
Yeah, sure thing, Gabrielle. That's awesome. Thank you. All right, anyone else? Share from the morning, from your experience? Y'all good? All right. Well, I think I've told some of you before, but keep your eyes and ears peeled. A lot of you right now are members of the Roost, which is a new birding community I just created. And only a small group of people got invited to that for a particular reason, but I'm opening it up to everybody in the next month or so. So you'll all be getting invitations for that. And so far, we've been having all sorts of fun doing projects and hearing stories and mysteries and getting buddies and everything. So it's been super sweet, at least from my perspective. I've been getting a ton from it. So anyway, yeah. So keep your eyes peeled for that, and we will see you next week. I think we're all good to go for our next Monday chat. So have a beautiful week, everybody. Keep playing, keep imagining what it's like to be something, someone else, and see how that goes. Thanks for coming. Good to see you
Yeah.
all.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Have
Yeah.
have a great day.
Mhm.